Well, welcome to the YouTube API session at Developer Days. Thank you for attending. Let's see. I just want to shoot a quick video. I'm making a video for my mom later, lens cap. So I just want to prove that I was actually up here giving a presentation. Could everyone wave? Hey, say hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Okay, thank you. So my name is David Parker. I'm a developer up at YouTube. And today we are going to be covering the YouTube APIs and telling you, kind of going into details about the current APIs and tell you where we're going. I'd like to do a quick survey of who we have here today. Hands up, those of you who've actually used the YouTube APIs. Okay, we've got some. And how many of you didn't realize that YouTube had APIs at all until you saw it on the session list? Okay, so we've got a few noobs. That's great. So during the session, we're going to be going through lots of examples to show you what the APIs can do. And at the end, we're going to have a Q&A session. And so if you're a developer and you have questions, this is your chance to fire away. Oh, one last question. Who wants a YouTube t-shirt? OK, lots of people. OK, great. So if you stick around to the end of the Q&A, we're going to be handing out t-shirts. Actually, like this. I'll model for you. There we go. They're really nice. OK. But this being a YouTube session, oh, here we go, goals. So the goals for today's session are to go through the details of the API, share what's available today, and talk about the roadmap a little bit. And then the Q&A, get your input as to what you'd like to see in the APIs. For this being a YouTube session, we'd like to first start off with a video. This is purely for fun, just some silliness to get us in the mood. Oops. And I shouldn't have done that.
Tired of the same old routine? What are you waiting for? Take a ride on the wild side. Tyson, no ordinary dog.
OK. And now we should be in the mood for video. So let's get into the philosophy behind the APIs. So YouTube was created to make sharing video on the internet very easy. And as part of that, we created a set of developer APIs early on to allow you to include videos from YouTube in your own websites and applications. The APIs give you the flexibility to include video content from YouTube in your apps in the way you want to use them, such as if you're creating, say, a Maps mashup or a Google gadget. But we also want to maintain sort of a consistent user experience when users run into YouTube videos. For example, like the embedded player that we have, users expect to be able to sort of go visit youtube.com from the player, and we'd like that experience to be sort of consistent wherever YouTube shows up on the web. We also need to respect both the developer community along with content creators, the people that upload videos to YouTube. So for example, when you upload a video to YouTube, you can specify whether or not you want your video to be embeddable in other websites. So that gives the creators some control. Now, on the flip side, if you're a developer like getting feeds from the APIs, we'll indicate whether or not a video is embeddable or not. If you try to include a non-embeddable video on your site, it just won't work. But you have the flag, so you can control your UX, the UI of your application, and give your own users the best experience possible. And you can expect to see more of these sort of trade-offs between enabling both developers and sort of content owners as we move forward. So today we're here to tell you about the APIs and to get your feedback. But first we want to explain why we think the APIs sort of deserve your attention. Well, first of all, YouTube has a massive content library. We have videos for pretty much any subject you can imagine. So for example, let's say you're building like a travel website. We have hundreds or tens of thousands of videos about New York City. So if you wanted to include videos for major cities, here's a place to look. Or let's say you're creating a maps mashup where you want to like be able to show like where endangered species are. YouTube has again tens of thousands of videos like, of elephants, so you can include this video content in your mashup. And if you have some kind of weird fetish maybe, we have crazy disco ball videos. Unfortunately, we don't have too many of them, so we have some really niche content. And if you're into disco balls, then here's also the place to look. But we do need more of them, so if you have any crazy disco ball videos, please upload them. Secondly, we have a large enthusiastic community surrounding YouTube. When you tap into videos from YouTube, you're also tapping into that community. Users get excited when they see the YouTube embedded player on a page. They'll click on it because they know they're going to see some great video. And by including YouTube videos on your site, you're sort of pulling in that experience and leveraging the community we have surrounding YouTube. And finally, we have a fast evolving feature set surrounding the APIs. So if you're using the APIs, you're not just taking advantage of the functionality we have today, but you're also sort of setting yourself up to take advantage of the functionality that we're rolling out. And as an example of that, here's the embedded player. So on the left, you see the embedded player as it sort of currently exists. And on the right is a screenshot of the embedded player that we're currently testing. So we're adding new features into the player, such as more featured videos. You can see sort of the line of videos down at the bottom there. And if you're a developer and you've already got the embedded player on your site, you get this additional functionality for free. This is important. I know a lot of users, their first run-in with YouTube is usually not on YouTube. It's on like some other website. I know like I first ran into YouTube videos a couple of years ago by reading various blogs like Unofficial Apple Weblog, that kind of thing. So this is where a lot of users see YouTube for the first time. So now let's get into the APIs themselves. So the APIs allow you to search for videos to get feeds and lists of videos back. You can search by tags and by categories. You can get information on users. So you can get sort of their public profile information. You can find who their friends are and what are their favorite videos. You can also get lists of videos like featured videos, popular videos on YouTube. So let's start off quick and easy and talk about the RSS feeds. So YouTube has a set of RSS feeds that actually are quite powerful and very easy to incorporate into your site. We have two types of RSS feeds. We have sort of customizable feeds, and you'll see there's a couple examples here. We have tag search. And if you look at the URL there, you can see Diet Coke and Mentos kind of buried in the URL. So what this will do, it will return an RSS feed for Diet Coke and Mentos videos. The second URL there is a user search. This shows videos that have been uploaded by a user. In this case, Smosh, one of our top users. And then we also have a set of generic, or I guess standard feeds, such as most popular videos, recently added videos, and so on. And if you go to youtube.com/RSSLS, you'll see more information about the RSS feeds and also like links to all the different feeds. And just to give you an example of what the information you can get in these feeds, this is the Diet Coke and Mentos URL from the previous page as displayed in Google Reader. So as you can see, you get an embedded player, the title, description, who uploaded it, when it was uploaded. So lots of information about the video. In addition, you can also use the RSS feeds in many different ways. For example, here's an iGoogle gadget that one of our developers created that uses an RSS feed to pull in videos and display them on iGoogle, or on, I guess, any web page really that supports Google Gadgets. So they're quite flexible. So now let's move into I guess the core of the APIs, the REST and XML RPC APIs. So the REST is like representational state transfer, which is just a fancy name for you send a URL to YouTube and we return back an XML document with information in it. The RPC APIs are very similar. You send a XML document to YouTube, and then we send back information formatted in XML. So these two APIs, they're sort of like fraternal twins. They look a little bit different, but they pretty much do the same thing. So here we have an example of a list featured request in both the REST format and the XML RPC format. So let's start with the REST URL. So as you can see, this is a straightforward URL. It's the same kind of thing you'd type into your browser. And you can actually type this into your browser and get back the XML response. So it's a HTTP GET request, which goes to youtube.com API to REST. And you see there's a couple parameters there. There's a method. All calls have a method specified. In this case, it's list featured. And there's also a developer ID. So with all calls that get sent to the API, you need to provide sort of your own developer ID. You can go to youtube.com/dev and get your own developer ID. This is mainly just to give us some way of sort of tracking who's using the APIs and gives us some ability to police them in case people are doing things they shouldn't. And below you'll see the equivalent request in the RPC format. This is an XML document that follows the RPC standard. And you'll see the same information is included in that XML, just in, I guess, a slightly longer manner. And for both requests, you'll get back pretty much the same response. If you make an RPC call, then this XML will actually be escaped and encapsulated in a standard RPC response XML document. But let's say we've already unescaped that part. This is sort of the guts of the response. So what you have here is a listing of videos. These are featured videos. And I've cropped it down just to one video just so it would fit on the slide. And as you can see, you get a lot of the information you'd expect about a video. You get its title and description, its thumbnail location, how many times it's been played, that kind of thing. And then you can use this information to present the video within your own site or application as you see fit. One thing I'd like to mention about the APIs, we're really pleased with the sort of the community that's sprung up around the APIs. In fact, when we started, we had sort of one engineer that was answering questions through email. And now we've grown sort of a support team surrounding the APIs to answer questions as they come in. And I'd like to just point out Steph, who's a member of the support team. Steph, could you sort of wave? There we go. All right. She's embarrassed. So I'd like to give you a demo of one of the uses of the list featured API call. This is a neat site called CoverPop, and what they've done is they take the feed and created this kind of neat Flash interface to it. So you can sort of mouse around and scroll over. And I'll play this one. This one's really quick. I think I did that once, not intentionally though. So this is a pretty creative use of the API. I'll repeat the question. We're actually going to have a Q&A session at the end. But the question was, how did they get sort of all the thumbnails in that sort of Flash application? We do, as part of the standard feed response, we include links to all the thumbnail URLs. So they're just including all the thumbnails. So let's move on to another request. This one lets you see which videos have been uploaded by a user. In this case, here's the sort of the REST style request. In this case, the method is list by user. And in addition to the developer ID, you also need to specify the username of the person you're interested in. So this application developer, Flash and Burn, what they've done is they're using this feed to sort of create what they call a YouTube badge, which kind of displays your most recently uploaded videos. So if you sort of type in a name here, I'll type in the YouTube user. Here we go. So here's sort of the 6 most recent videos that have been uploaded by people at YouTube. And they also give you a snippet of HTML, so you can include that on your site. And it'll be updated, so when the page gets loaded, you'll see the most recently uploaded videos from that user. So just another example of the kind of things developers are doing with the APIs. And if you want to find out more information about a user, we also have a get profile call. In this case, this is the profile of Steve Chen, one of YouTube's co-founders. So as you can see, this is information that's already public up on YouTube, so we're not telling you anything you couldn't already find out via the API. So as you can see, Steve he's 28. He actually grew up pretty close to where I did in Illinois, and I'm sorry to tell you, but he's taken, so. Now let's move on to, I guess, one of the most powerful API calls, list by tag. Actually, list by tag is a little bit misnamed these days. It used to do just tag search, but now we've expanded it to search across all the metadata associated with the video. So as you can see in the request here, our method is list by tag. And in this case, the tag we're using is Honda Civic. And this is a paginated request. So this request is just fetching the first 20 results returned for that search. So let me show you what Web2Cars have done using this call. This is pretty cool. They've added this whole video section to the website, sort of adding value to their users and improving their experience. So here I can just hit a drop down, and what am I going to do? Let's do Alfa Romeo, and they sort of refine their list of videos here. And let's look at the spider. Cool. So now if I click on one of these, they just have the embedded player popping up, and you can see the various videos. So I thought it was pretty cool. And if you want to get more information about a specific video, we have a list details method. In this case, you need to specify the video ID. So you typically use this after you've already made one call to retrieve a list of videos, say featured videos. And then for each video, you can get more information about each one. In this case, this is one of my favorite videos, which is Sleepy Kitten. It's very, very cute if you haven't seen it. And in addition to the information you typically get back with a feed request, you also get back this additional information, namely like the listing of all the comments that users have made about the video. You can get to see what category it's in, and also the embed status of the video, what I mentioned before, so you know whether or not the content creator has allowed developers to embed the video in their own site. There's some additional calls that we haven't talked about here. There's more calls to find out information about users. We have favorite videos from a user. You can look at a user's friends. And you can also get back videos by playlists and look at popular videos, and also get videos by tag with category restricts. So these are the additional calls. And if you want to find out more about the APIs and the different calls, you can go to youtube.com/dev. That's where we have our documentation. You can sign up for a developer ID and start tinkering around with the APIs yourself. I'd also like to mention that since YouTube's become part of Google, you can also get YouTube video content through other Google applications. This is Google Ajax Search, the Ajax Search API. And what this lets you do is very easily include videos on your site from both Google Video and YouTube. So let me do a quick demo here. So in this case, you can get a sort of a video bar, a list of either a horizontal or vertical strip of videos, or you can get a search control, which has a little bit more functionality. So I'm going to go look at the video bar. And I'm just going to hit the wizard here. It's really easy. And let's look for, I guess we just talked about sleepy kitties, so let's do puppies. Okay, so you have some puppy videos. And if I click on one of these guys here, you can see the player will pop up. And in this case, this is the embedded player for Google Video. You can see a whole bunch of puppies converging on a poor kitty at the back there. I should cut this off. It gets pretty gory at the end. There's way too much blood. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Here's another one. This is you can see this is from YouTube. Just puppies, I guess, doing what they do an awful lot of, and snoring. Okay, enough of that. So as you can see, there's many different ways of including YouTube videos in your site, in addition to just the regular API. So now we've talked about the APIs in their current form, and I'd like to now sort of tell you sort of where we're headed with the APIs. Now, I haven't actually seen my flying car yet, so I'm not quite, so we're not in the future. This is why. As soon as I get my flying car, I know I'm in the future. So we're working on a new set of APIs which conform to the Google Data standard. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Google Data, the Google Data API? Okay, a couple of people. We're really excited about this. This is the new API framework that Google is standardizing on. I guess here's applications which currently use the Google Data framework are like Google Calendar, documents and spreadsheets, Picasso Web, for example. So if you're familiar with Google Data, then this is sort of incremental learning when we release the new APIs. I guess another nice thing about the Google Data Framework is there's already a lot of client libraries that have been written for the standard. So if you're coding in JavaScript or Java or Python or Objective-C for the Mac heads out there like me, then a lot of the details like parsing XML are already taken care of for you. All you need to do is sort of drop in the library and make some very basic calls to it, and it takes care of all the grungy details like authentication. So our plan is we're working on the APIs. We're seeking sort of feedback from the development community to figure out exactly what to put in the APIs, what additional calls that we want to add in. So if you're interested, I encourage you to go to Google Groups and sign up for the YouTube API. This is also linked off the developer site, youtube.com/dev. And we'll be posting more information about the APIs once it's available. Okay. I just wanted to give you one demo of a quick application that was built off of the APIs currently in the early stages. This is an application that my CubeMate wrote. And what this does, it lets you do searches and do multiple category restricts. So let's see. I'll search for magic. You can tell I've done this before. And let's look for magic in sports. Hey, it worked. Great. And as you can see, we have some videos up here. Magic in sports, we have Magic Johnson videos. We have Steve Francis magic show on the basketball court. But now I can add some additional categories. So if I just want to add something a bit more regular, comedy. So here are some videos in the comedy category that relate to magic. Now, you can more or less do this with the current APIs. We have tag search with category restricts. But the coolest thing about this demo is that it's actually done entirely in client-side JavaScript. So Google Data, I guess as a developer, sort of comes free with this JavaScript object notation output. So everything you see here has just been done in client-side JavaScript. It's very easy to write. I think my CubeMate David knocked this out in about a day. Well, actually less than a day. It was just done. Yeah. So to recap, the current APIs, we have RSS feeds. This is a very quick and easy way of dropping in videos from YouTube into your own site or application. If you're willing to put a little bit more work in, but give a richer experience to your users, we also have the REST and RPC calls available, some assembly required. And moving forward, we're going to be focusing our development efforts on the Google Data Standard, and we'll post more information about that once it's available up on the site. So if you want to get involved, I encourage everyone to go to youtube.com/dev and sign up for a developer ID and start tinkering around with the APIs. And also join the Google group where we'll be posting more information about the new Google Data APIs as it's available. So now we're going to move into the Q&A sort of portion of the session. I'm going to invite a few people up here to join me answering questions. We have Hunter Walk, who's a product manager for YouTube, along with John Harding and Serene Shah, who are two of the engineers working on the APIs. So this is your opportunity to tell us about your experiences with the APIs, ask questions, tell us what you want to see in the new Google Data APIs. And if you have questions, please come up and use the microphones.
Great. Thanks, Dave. So Hunter Walk, product manager. Besides this Q&A, we're also going to have folks at the YouTube demo station all day. So feel free to come by if you want to get a little bit more hands-on or talk specifically about particular applications that you want. But happy now to take your questions.
Hi, my name is Chris Grant, and this may relate. This may be more of a feature request. I'm using Google Video, but it may also apply to YouTube, and I'm intending to get into YouTube maybe later this week or soon. One thing I've noticed on Google Video, and I don't know if it's the same on YouTube, is that the first frame that's shown, it seems sometimes to be just a random frame, and I would like to control that so that when viewers see the video, the first frame is the one I want them to see. And I don't know if it can be controlled in YouTube. So that's it may be a feature request, it may already exist.
Great. So the question was, as opposed to just showing the first frame or the first thumbnail that's returned, do developers have any control over picking from all the thumbnails that we make, or even picking a particular point within the video to use as a thumbnail?
Is this on? Yeah. So that's actually a fairly typical request, and it's something that we're working on. I don't have a date for when we're going to have that.
And it may not be even an API thing, but just something in an embedded thing. You just specify the frame number, and then you can specify it when you embed it on a page, for example. The other thing I have a question about, I've noticed it on Google Video, is that some shows, such as Charlie Rose, you can buy those videos for $1 or so, but it doesn't seem to be available for all users of Google Video, for everyone who posts video. Is that something that's going to be available on? I'm asking about Google Video, but I guess it could also apply for YouTube.
Yeah, so I can't comment specifically on sort of the content availability on Google Video. On YouTube, though, we're working with a number of different partners, thousands of partners, to get all types of video into the service. In fact, this morning we just announced an agreement with EMI, one of the major record labels, which gives us relationships with all of the major US labels. They'll be putting content into YouTube, and as well, as part of the EMI, looking for different ways to help users be able to use their assets for mashups or other type of YouTube experiences.
Actually, it was not for major labels. It was the opposite for the regular, I guess, non-professional. Maybe he would like to sell some of his video clips.
Yeah, so
just
today
like the
focus on YouTube has really been around looking at different advertiser-supported models to help content creators try to find the largest audience possible. And in fact, recently we announced sort of an early pilot of something we're calling the User Partner Program, where we worked with a few of our top users who are creating their own episodic serial content to ad support that and share the revenue with them. So you should expect that we're going to continue to open that program so independent producers of all types can not only find an audience, but create a business around their content.
Thank you.
Great.
Hello, hi. I'm actually haven't used YouTube API before, so this might be a very normalized question. So I'm wondering whether YouTube API has a JavaScript API allow us to control the flow of the video on the client side, or so just to do a play, stop, pause, and especially syncing to a certain time period and then syncing to a certain frame.
Great. So the question was, within the API, can we give developers more control over seeking or to a particular time in the video, or starting and stopping at particular timestamps, or other ways to queue playback?
Right. I mean, what you're actually talking about, if I understand you correctly, is an API on the player itself, so that you can programmatically control, like an embedded player, for example.
Yeah.
Again, that's a feature request that we've gotten, and it's something that's on our work list, but I don't have a date for you right now.
Well, I mean, some of the work in terms of trying to allow seeking within a video, then that would facilitate then the extending that to the API, right?
Correct. I mean, there's different things about whether you sort of are saying, I want to just start a video within a certain point, which is sort of a non-interactive use case, versus have a JavaScript control over the player, which is more interactive.
Yeah. Today within the API, I mean, it's limited. It's not fully what you're talking about, but one of the documented but less used features is an autoplay on or off. So sometimes if folks are using the thumbnail to draw the click and then don't necessarily want the user to come and then have to click again to start the video, there's an argument you can put on for autoplay so the video will start playing, but we don't yet have the ability to say, right at this moment, minute 1, second 3, this is the best part, and link right to that.
But so right now there's no dynamic control of the embedded player itself, or is there a limited control right now? Just
Correct. There's no dynamic control right now, but it's something that we're looking at.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Hi. This actually goes very well with the previous questions. Are you guys going to allow direct access to the video file, allowing developers to bypass the standard player?
So the question was, will there be a way for developers to call directly the raw file?
Right, so right now our use cases are focused around the embedded player, and what we are trying to do is find ways to enable you to create the experience that you as a developer want around that embedded player. But as we kind of described earlier on, there's a lot of concerns that our content partners have, even just regular user uploads have, with how their content gets used. And so at least for the foreseeable future, there will still likely be some sort of player that you're getting from us, but as I mentioned, part of being able to dynamically control that player also means things like being able to customize how that player might look and fit in with the rest of your application.
So that could be, like eventually that could be, that some simple player mode could be served within a Flash app of the developer's own creation?
Correct.
Well, also second question, are you guys going to allow, provide more detailed statistics on video usage?
Yeah, so absolutely. So I think that video data is something that we want to provide more information for both the regular users so that when they're seeing videos they can know more about them, but especially for uploaders. So some of the things that we've been thinking about or hearing from users, they say, well, YouTube has a worldwide audience. I want to know which geographies my video is popular in, or can you tell me more about how much of a video that that a user is watching? So those are all things that we want to try to look at and figure out how to expose to video uploaders, and then potentially make more of that also available as just part of the video data feed.
Cool, thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, as I'm sure you guys know better than I do, there's a lot of interest in getting YouTube video as well as uploading YouTube video from devices aren't necessarily PCs, mobile phones, video cameras, that sort of thing. Is there anything you're doing in the API area to help those sort of developers?
Yeah, so some of our focus there to date has been exactly what you say, sort of focus more on devices than necessarily just uploading from the web. But in general, I'd say, so let me say, holistically, we want to look to say like, hey, anywhere video is being created, whether it's a user and wanting to submit it through a place other than YouTube.com or within a video editing application or from a capture device, wanting to be able to make that as easy as possible. So we have announced some sort of partnership relationships with different mobile providers or other types of video camera software makers who are going to start to integrate an upload API. But right now, our focus for that has been on kind of the device manufacturer community more than the developer community. Although I think sort of generally our philosophy is to try to figure out, once we build this stuff, how do we open it up as broadly as possible? Is there like a particular use case that you were thinking of?
For example, a mobile phone, be able to take a video off of that and have it uploaded. Have an application, like
I'm hoping
a mobile gadget or something like that would do that.
I'm hoping that we can roll a lot of that stuff out. I mean, what's so exciting about mobile for us is not only as a playback device, although you hear lots of people say, like, oh, I want to watch video on my mobile phone, but exactly what you're saying, the capture device, in which case, not only is it getting it into YouTube quickly, but we're able to get like lat long, and other pieces of metadata that would be more difficult or cumbersome for an individual user to have to enter, but we can just, get it off the device itself. So right now, I mean, some of the deals that we've sort of announced have been more about playback, giving people access through their mobile handsets to our website or other sort of best of YouTube video on demand feeds. But I think the upload paradigm is like really exciting for us too, and we want to figure out a way to make that easy for users. Because you talk to a lot of them, and they don't, even the ones that are starting to capture video find it hard to get off the phone. I mean, today you can register with YouTube.com and upload directly. But we, integrated into devices makes it that much more easier.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Right now, YouTube allows the searching of metadata, some stuff that people enter, title, tags. Are you going to be allowing search of video content itself? I was wondering if you're looking into like, voice recognition, OCR.
Yeah, so the question was today in the APIs, a lot of what you saw talks about the video metadata, sort of the explicitly entered information from uploaders or from the user community. Are we doing any work around sort of more implicit data, like video analysis, such as speech to text? So I mean, I think ultimately, and this is one of the areas that being, I think, part of Google is really good for us, because there's a lot of different ways to think about video analysis, and we have people thinking about some different stuff there. a while back, Nevin was the company that they bought around facial recognition?
Even Vision, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a company called Nevin that we bought a while back that I think announced that, is sort of getting folded into some of our image search type of technology, and I imagine that we can make a lot of use of that for video search as well. But I think it's like really, really fertile ground, and one of the things that we'll see as video search gets better and better, to be able to go to, when you have the 20-minute, I don't know, Martha Stewart video, and you know that there's something in there where she's talking about a pound cake. You want to go right there. You don't want to necessarily start at 0, 0 and have to figure out. So yeah, so if people know cool technology that we should be thinking about for that stuff, definitely come up and tell us. And I mean, it's something that we want to figure out as well.
I'm particularly interested in location information, and obviously right now you've got ways to query like a user's hometown and place where they presently live, and that seems to be the extent of what I've seen in terms of formalized location data. Obviously, you may be able to extract other things from tags and things like that, but I guess I'm interested in what your roadmap is for things like geotagging, as well as deep tags within videos, so that if you had a 10-minute long travel video or something of several different cities, you would be able to, at a specific point in the video, say, okay, this is this location, this is this location, this is this location.
Yeah, excellent. So the question was, particular interest in geo, how do we get richer geographic information about the video itself? And then within the video, specific parts that may want to reference specific localities, what is our roadmap for that?
Yeah, again, another one of the very popular requests. Deep geotagging actually is a new one that I hadn't heard of, but geotagging in general is something that a lot of people have been asking for, and again is on our roadmap. Yeah,
so today we have a unspecified text geo field that's sort of a advanced metadata that some percentage of users choose to fill in, and it just sort of, it says like, video location, so you get everything from like my bedroom, to a specific, address all the way through to like an actual geotag. Right. There's some stuff that we're going to be doing in the upload process that's going to make it easier for users to add that stuff on. I mean, I think we can look at a lot of the evocative work that has been done on other Google services for like dragging stuff onto a map and being able to get a little bit better information there. Once there's enough of that to be really valuable, then we can start to expose it in ways that I think allow developers to do a lot of work. I know I've been hungering for the view that says, show me video from like, address from people around me, or if I'm going on a vacation, show me video from Times Square, that type of stuff. And today, you can, like you said, you can kind of get that on tag search and kind of get that on some of the metadata, but not with the same, level of acuteness that some of the lat-long stuff would do.
The field that you mentioned that can have like a location tag, is that like a specific element, or are you talking about just a generic tag that would happen to contain that?
No, it's a location field. It's exposed sort of under the advanced metadata, so we don't require a user to fill it in. But once the user is given, we require sort of title, description, and some tags. But then there's a whole bunch of other options that a user has on a second screen. And I don't have exact numbers on like how many people fill that in, but I think what we're seeing right now is like I said, it's sort of anything from Middle Earth, if it's like
well, it's small now, I'm sure it'll grow. But I mean, is that something I can get to through the get details call, or is there like a get advanced details?
I don't think we expose.
Or is it exposed right now?
Yeah, it's in the API in the video details as recording location.
Awesome, thank you.
Cool. And country.
Is there going to be a way that YouTube will allow people to edit at all, even as simply as like motion box?
So the question was, are we going to be doing anything to allow people to edit videos? I think certainly that's an interesting area for us. We don't have anything to announce right now, but I mean, from my perspective, there's like two areas of things that are really important. One is sort of the video version of, crop and red eye, right? Which is sort of the, hey, look, I just want to, I have this big long video, and here's the part I want that I don't want to have to worry about downloading another client, or maybe I'm not familiar with iMovie or something like that, and can't I just do that? And it seems like, if we really want to make video easy for a lot of people, that's an exciting area for us. Then some folks come and say, well, I want to do effects, and I want to do transitions, and I want to do, multiple videos, and I want to treat, audio different from video and all that type of stuff. And that's a little bit more complex, and there's some great programs out there that I think, allow you to do that right now. And in fact, we see a lot of our users really getting excited about some of those tools. So I think that first area is something that we'd like to work on, I guess, sooner, and then figure out what else the community wants to see.
And also, Picasa is a great example of people being able to, and your write-up about it in here too is great too, but people can create their own albums, whereas like, it's very, it's very scattered now. A lot of people's use of video is for family video and family photos. And to aggregate family photos and family videos together in one place, is that something that you will be enabling?
So from so multiple YouTube users, different accounts putting together? Yeah, right now there's a group feature that you can kind of sort of create a group and put things together. I don't, it works. Certainly a lot of people make use of it, but I don't think in terms of sort of the richness of the different parts of the site, I think there's a lot of use cases there that it may not work as well as it could. And so especially as sort of we see a lot of the video consumption being less about one individual finding and watching a video and more and more about groups of people wanting to watch videos together. I think that's an area that will continue to improve. I mean, we've done some cool stuff around making video watching more social already. If you go to TestTube, which is sort of our version of Google Labs, it just has all this stuff that we're kind of kicking around. We just released this, this product feature called Active Sharing, which allows you to opt in to actually sort of publishing what you're watching in real time. And so if you're a user, you can kind of go to a YouTube watch page and you'll see these little green dots with usernames. And those are people watching the video right now. And you kind of click through and see what else they're watching. So it's totally opt-in and kind of neat. And I think more of that stuff, both in for individual users and for groups, will be really exciting for us. I'm not sure what the sleeping motion means. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think there's anything really that interesting on there.
Yeah, I just have a couple of questions. One is about the kind of like the geolocation, but what about actually being able to find out the location of where they're uploading the video from? Doing a search, is that something you guys are working on to be able to make that information available? So just depending on where they've actually physically uploaded it from, and being able to capture groups of videos based on that information.
Yeah, so the question was,
where they say they're from.
We talked earlier about a geofield that might reference where the video was shot, but what about capturing any information about where the uploader
Maybe
was
like the
when
server
they
that
uploaded?
it comes through or something like that?
Right, I mean, we do have information about like the uploader themselves, where their hometown was. We don't specifically track where they uploaded a video from. So that would be something we'd have to log as sort of a new request.
Yeah, I imagine anything, stuff like that is sort of, if we add that stuff, we want to make it at the option of the uploader, obviously, right?
Yeah,
so if it's more data about their upload that they want to publish, especially if it's data that we can implicitly gather and just say, hey, here's more stuff about you. Do you want to let people know this? That would be the kind of tact we'd take in terms of balancing privacy and users having control over their presence on the site.
And then the other question I had was about, is there any work being done to include Google Analytics in being able to capture the user data?
So question about, is there any work being done around Google Analytics to capture user data? Do you mean in terms of
being able to, like maybe one location where you put in your code for being tracked, and then maybe that would be able to propagate to how the videos are being viewed?
So we want to use different tools like that to help sort of gather and expose data, but we haven't necessarily done work to allow an uploader to put like their own code snippet of whether it be Google Analytics or any other tool on the page itself. But we hope to be able to gather more and more data and present it generally to the user community about the way a video is being watched, being used, where it's being embedded. We have right now this thing we called honors, which just shows hey, this is the most most commented, most popular video of a day within a category stuff. I think there's a lot of things we can do there to make it much more vibrant and help the uploader in the community understand like, oh, this is a fast rising video, or this video is popular in the Pacific Northwest, or that type of stuff that will be just interesting in some ways, but also potentially really valuable. For instance, like let's say you have a music band and they want to know where their music video is popular because that's going to impact their tour schedule. There's stuff like that we want to think about.
Thank you.
That almost answered my question. Insofar as YouTube is a barometer of popular culture, and especially people are kind of talking about how YouTube is going to affect the elections, it would be really interesting to have sort of macro level data on what videos are hot or cool, or the candidates. Is there plans like to have that accessible by an API? Or?
Yeah. So the question was, can we do more work around exposing sort of YouTube trends? So that's another area where I feel like being part of Google is actually pretty cool, because they got this trends product and this sort of the zeitgeist product that can be applied against like a particular corpus and say, hey, these are the fast rising stuff. Like they found that on any given day, a large percentage of the popular queries have to do with New York Times crossword puzzle hints and stuff. And I imagine that if you do, you apply that similar logic to YouTube, you could find a lot of really interesting data. So have you guys thought at all about how we like gather and expose that potentially to developers?
We haven't thought about exposing that through the API yet. Partly, I mean, typically what will happen is that as we add functionality, it will first show up on the site as sort of a feature of the site, and then it gets expanded out to the API once we know how it's working.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to continue to lobby for that, is it the groups is the place to go?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, start the thread, get the people into it,
Just
and then
for
we'll build it.
You choose stuff, the political, you're talking about the you choose features, right?
Yeah.
Is that going to be accessible via the API? Not through the API, I think, but they are working on ways to like let people spread the word. Like,
Well, for you choose, I mean, what you can actually do is you can grab user. So each of the candidates are tied to a specific user account. You can grab an RSS feed. That RSS feed has information about view counts and stuff like that, and so you can actually build like your own kind of little who's ahead barometer type of thing, up in the last week, that type of stuff. But I haven't seen too many people do stuff like that. But I think I mean, I don't know. Forget me as a product manager. As a user, I would just love to see that stuff.
Cool. Thank you. Hi. Couple of quick questions. One is on the security for your APIs. How do you protect your APIs from getting denial of service attacks and stuff? And then the second thing is a roadmap on video quality, enhancing the video quality.
So the first question was around API security. You're a good guy, right? You're not looking for us to tell you so you can do bad things, right? Okay. So the first question was around API security in terms of like rate limiting or DOS attacks or things like that. And the second was video quality.
I'll let Serene handle the first one around developer IDs.
So right now we basically have you register and we give you an encrypted developer ID. And that's basically, so all our APIs right now are very read intensive. You don't really have access to any of the write APIs right now, but basically we just take that developer ID and check it against our table just to make sure that you registered. So,
are we doing any rate throttling right now?
Right now we don't. We don't with the current set of APIs, but of course in the future we do.
So that way, if somebody does start abusing the API, we have the developer ID to track who they are. So there's that. With video quality, I don't know, Hunter, do you want to sort of address this one?
What we've seen right now is sort of for a lot of the video, the quality is pretty good. We sort of optimize for speed of load and playback. I think our overall goal is if you give us something in high quality, let's make sure we can try to show it, in as close to original format as possible. And so I think the work we'll be doing is just trying to make sure that when we get high quality video, we can present it back. But especially when we have such a broad worldwide audience, it's really interesting to see the client bandwidth that sort of our users have, and we want to make sure that speed is always the first thing we're optimizing for. So we've run out of time, and there's another event after this. We have T-shirts to give away to folks. And if I'm sorry if we didn't get to your specific question, we will have folks at the YouTube booth, so just come by and we'll be able to address them there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah.